Support for WNYC comes from Apple TV Plus presenting limited series Masters of the Air, starring Callum Turner and Austin Butler, a true story of courage and sacrifice during World War II. More at fyc.appletvplus.com.
On the next Fresh Air, Ronan Farrow on how his reporting on the Me Too movement led to the criminal case against Donald Trump. Farrow unearthed details of the National Enquirer's plan to pay for damaging stories about Trump and then bury those stories. The connection between that practice and the 2016 election gave prosecutors a felony case against Trump. Join us. Weekdays at 2 on WNYC or live stream it at WNYC.org.
AI fever pushes Apple out of number 2.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Progressive Insurance, helping protect small businesses with a variety of coverages like general liability, workers' compensation, and commercial auto. More at progressivecommercial.com. And by The Economist, devoted to providing independent journalism that makes sense of the news shaping the world. More at economist.com or with The Economist app, newsletters, and podcasts.
NVIDIA stock is up 1.2% this morning pre-market. The chipmaker's value has doubled this year, and it just surpassed Apple as the world's second most valuable company, and it's hot on the heels of Microsoft.
NVIDIA stock has been climbing along with hopes for an artificial intelligence-led tech boom. The company has 80% share of the market for the powerful semiconductors needed to develop and run AI. NVIDIA can't make those chips fast enough. It reported a 7-fold increase in profit in the last quarter. Over the weekend, it unveiled its next-generation AI chip. And yesterday, its market capitalization breached the $3 trillion mark, just edging past Apple, seen by many investors as a laggard in AI. Next week, Apple will hold its annual developers conference when it typically unveils new software capabilities. I'm Nova Safo for Marketplace.
Adding to this, NVIDIA is set to split each of its stocks into 10 little ones, which makes it cheaper for smaller investors to buy, say, 100 of them, adding demand, which can lift the price. Right now, S&P futures are little changed. New York Governor Kathy Hochul has put an indefinite pause on New York City's congestion pricing system to charge vehicles entering the city's business district. It was due to start late this month. The vehicle detectors were already up. It was intended to reduce pollution, to save lungs and lives, but Hochul says the time isn't right. Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer has that.
Under the congestion pricing plan, most people driving cars into Midtown Manhattan would have been charged $15 starting at the end of June. But yesterday, Governor Hochul pointed out that the pricing proposal was enacted before the pandemic, and things have changed a lot since then.
But hard-working New Yorkers are getting hammered on costs, and they and the economic vitality of our city must be protected. We cannot ignore the facts.
Hochul also says people are already working more from home, putting a dent in the local economy, and she wouldn't want to further discourage them from coming into their Manhattan offices. I'm Nancy Marshall-Genzer for Marketplace.
It's been 1 week since former President Donald Trump was found guilty of 34 felony charges of falsifying business records to influence the 2016 election. Sentencing is set for July. We've been looking into federal law and SEC rules on felons who are principals of companies. Trump is majority shareholder of Trump Media and Technology Group. Eric Gordon is a professor at the University of Michigan's Ross School of Business and a former corporate attorney who also teaches law. Good to see you, Eric.
Good morning, David.
I mean, it's not an abstract question here.
Oddly enough, you can be CEO of a giant public company subject to thousands of pages of regulation that's written in Greek, even if you are a convicted felon. Even if you're a convicted felon of, for example, falsifying business records.
But there are other occupations where you can't keep your job if you have this felony on your record.
Yeah, you could be CEO of the largest public company in the world, but you can't be a cosmetologist. You can't do people's fingernails or color their hair.
In New York.
In New York. It's a New York State rule. And of course, the Trump conviction is in New York State. So at least in New York, he couldn't be a cosmetologist, although he could be CEO of a public company.
just to be clear, legal scholars say he could also be president of the United States. But there's something that a felon cannot be. I was looking at the Dodd-Frank reform laws passed after the 2008 financial mess, and I saw some kind of exclusion here for felons.
It's kind of unusual. The exclusion doesn't apply to public companies. But if you're raising money as a private company, you haven't had your IPO, you're not listed on a stock exchange, you're raising money privately, which a lot of companies are doing now. I mean, they raise billions of dollars privately. You can't take advantage of the SEC regulation that most people use to make that possible if you are a felon or other bad actor.
That might have affected former President Trump back when Trump Media and Technology was privately held. But the whole point is, fairly recently, it became a public company. So this doesn't apply. I suppose maybe in the future, if Donald Trump were interested in getting involved with a privately held company, this could be an impediment.
If he doesn't win the appeal, he's not going to be an officer of a privately held company because it will be so difficult for that company to raise money under the federal security laws, under the Dodd-Frank thing that you mentioned.
Eric Gordon, a professor at the University of Michigan's Ross School of Business. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, David.
Now, when style maven and media personality Martha Stewart was convicted of felony insider trading, she resigned as CEO and chair of her media company, but she didn't have to by law because it was a public company, as is Trump's social media company now.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Bitwarden Password Manager for Business, designed for those who work at home and those who work at work. Learn more at bitwarden.com/business. And by Amazon Business, helping provide a smarter, easier way to get the supplies businesses need to thrive. Amazon Business, your partner for smart business buying.
Tomorrow features the big hiring and unemployment reports for May. It includes how much we're getting paid, up 4% in the year through April. That was pay rising faster than inflation, but not rising as quickly as before. Marketplace's Mitchell Hartman has that.
Economists expect continued moderation in wages as the Fed's high interest rates crimp economic growth and labor demand weakens. The trend's most evident among small businesses. Frank Fiorelli tracks this at payroll processor Paychex.
We continue to see wage growth slow down, and we saw it again this month pretty dramatically.
Fiorelli says at companies with fewer than 50 employees, wages grew by just 2.1% on an annualized basis in May, the slowest pace since November 2020. One bright spot for workers, even as wage growth slows, price inflation is slowing more.
We're kind of clawing back some of what was lost.
Skanda Amarnath is an economist at policy research group Employ America.
After we went through a series of cost of living shocks, real wages are improving.
In April, wages outpaced prices by about 0.5% year over year. I'm Mitchell Hartman for Marketplace.
And I'm David Brancaccio. You're listening to the Marketplace Morning Report from APM, American Public Media.
WNYC is supported by Earth Justice, a national legal nonprofit fighting for a healthy environment for all. More at earthjustice.org. Earth Justice, because the earth needs a good lawyer.
On the next Brian Lehrer Show, Governor Kathy Hochul and the 2024 elections. She's not running for anything herself, but she's getting involved this week in national politics, apparently to help Democrats running for Congress in the contested New York City suburbs. She was with President Biden at his border crackdown announcement, and now she's delaying Manhattan's congestion pricing plan. We'll see what's happening and take your calls. That and more on The Brian Lehrer Show, weekdays at 10 a.m. on WNYC.
This is WNYC.